Elam's excited. It's geschmack. The Elam's excited. Huh? They know what it's about. What's called matzah? I'll make it more geschmack. Just give me what's called matzah. What does it mean when the Shulchan Aruch says that if you have animals that are matzah, says the Shulchan Aruch, so then you're allowed to be metaltal all these different things, these bones, these shells and pits and everything. What's called matzah? What's called matzah? The grass, the Baal Tanya, is you've cut in Samach Daled. He says something which I hope that's what the Mishabura means. You saw yesterday, I wasn't so sure. But he says that the pshat is, we're talking about animals that Stam B'nai Adam have, not weird things, not some weird thing that nobody has, and it doesn't generate a wonder when one sees such an animal. I must admit that I'm still navoich about something. I don't know yet what the pshat is. And I tried to go last night to the Kaisel to daven so I can get the pshat, and they wouldn't let me into the old city. They wouldn't let me into the old city. And I told them I don't have pshat in the... I don't have pshat in the Shulchan Aruch. I don't have pshat in the Shulchan Aruch. I was, I don't know. They still didn't let me in. But they asked them, maybe you have pshat. I don't. As I went to Mama Rachel, and they didn't let me there either. You ever feel so rejected? So now we're going to have to go with the koyach of tefillah, of Torah, not the koyach of tefillah. With koyach of tefillah, you can do anything. That's the way you cheat. But without the koyach of tefillah, you have to go with the koyach of Torah. Let's see today, maybe derech the sugya through koyach of Torah we'll come to the clarity on this. I'm still not voich. I'm confused about one thing. I know that in the times of Chazal they had birds, and if they had birds and like the regular birds that we have, I don't have any reason to believe they didn't have that. So why was breadcrumbs the way we explained yesterday that it's not totally a mizaynos of olive? So then why is it that if it's not totally a mizaynos of olive, so why are breadcrumbs considered to be muksa if under kizayis, if you don't have birds, there were always birds? So Rabbi Cooper, Kohen Gadol Mechaverav, he said to me as I was driving over just now, he said, where does it say that breadcrumbs are muksa, like we spoke about back then? And maybe this is the reason why it says upirurim shein ben kizayis, upirurim shein ben kizayis. So the Mishabura says, why pirurim shein ben kizayis? It's like the Mishabura, menekat nustan, stamim oidim, rak l'maychel behem v'oifis. These things are oimid for birds. So maybe it means that the birds that were always around. Then why does the Shulchan Aruch have to say it? Okay, but I don't know. That's one thing that bothers me. Did they have cats in the Haim? Were there cats everywhere, the way we have cats today? Does anybody know? Or what? Sorry? So my son yesterday, a Yerushalmi man. This Yerushalmi man is 96 years old. 96 years old. Those are my friends, right? And the type of guy that when I came over to him after davening, to Hashem Aleichem, he says to me, "Nufas Herzog, I've nicht gesehen by the mikveh." Like the first thing he says, I haven't seen you by the mikveh. That's. I asked him, "Zug mir, in the Haim, did they have cats? Did they have cats in the Haim?" He came from Europe and he came to Yerushalayim. In the Haim, they had cats. So he said he doesn't remember cats. He said not only that, in Yerushalayim he doesn't remember cats. So I told him what happened. What happened? There's more cats now than chassidim. What's the pshat? So he told me that they have like a Kabbalah, like a medrash or something, that there were a bunch of mice, and who just said they brought them over. Who was that? What? That you were mekavin to this old Yerushalmi man. What? The English brought them over. Right? They have like a Zak Kabbalah like that, Yerushalmi in the mikveh later. And so he said, so I don't know. So if they didn't have cats, it doesn't bother me so much. And in the Haim, they didn't have cats. Why is it that Dafka in England there were cats? Or I don't know, later. I don't know. I asked my wife today, she didn't know. But in the Haim, there wasn't so many cats. The birds is not such a kasher. By Cooper says, that's what it says here. So I'm going to go with this hanacha. Also in Svara, I don't see how you can't go with this hanacha, with the mashmoyis and Mishabura. We're going to go with this hanacha, that the pashtus is, we're talking about animals that are motzi, even if they don't have owners, even if you can't feed them, even if you don't plan on feeding them. That's the pashtus over here in the halacha. Now, the only shaila left to declare is, do we have animals in the places that we live? So come to gain the Or L'Tzion in Beis Chavav Zayin. The Or L'Tzion says that it has to be that you could have animals, but it has to be that the animals are close enough that they're within walking distance. He says you're within walking distance of the animal. Interesting. Not that the animal's within walking distance of you, but that you're within walking distance of the animal. And then he said that's called matzi. Now I gather of like as if even if you don't plan on actually feeding the animal these bones that you have in this the shells that you have or whatever things you have, but the vazei that the animals are within walking distance, that's called matzi. It's a chiddush. It's a chiddush because first of all I would have toilet on the animal. Number one, I don't know if I would have told it on you or going to the animal. Okay, that's one. But number two is I still don't know if that's called matzi. We're trying to figure out here if this item that's in front of me has changed from people food to animal food. Is it something that in this, we misyachis to animals, and the animals have the dreitzach of it, they exist. And since they exist, we consider this item to be animal food. Vavaja, the Abi Omer, in Teskov Ches, it seems to be they have a lot of machlekes in over there he argues. He says, I don't care how far it is. I don't know what he means. I mean, how far? Does he mean, it doesn't mean Mars, right? But he says it doesn't matter how far, even if it's far and it's hard to get there on foot. I don't know, does he mean in a city? Does he mean, Ramat Shlomo to Talpiot? I mean, how far does he mean? I don't know. So we'll leave this question as not being so clear, at least spend time so far. Well, let's try and make it somewhat more clear. If Nissen Karelitz, well, that's what I'm getting to. So Nissen, again, from those two, it's going to be very difficult to figure out, what's together. Rabbi Sian says it's got to be mamish like within walking distance. It's like, one of your Shabbos friends or something. And Rabbi Vaji says it could be mamish like the other end of the city. So that's already difficult. The basket based on that is difficult. Reb Nissen, in the 133rd page, so he says, no, I just made that up. Reb Nissen, he says that Bnei Brak has dogs. That's what he writes. It's matzi dogs in Bnei Brak. Now, if you have a dog in Bnei Brak, they probably kick you out of Bnei Brak, right? So he's seen them. Does he seen dogs in Bnei Brak, right? Where were you, Agav, in Bnei Brak? Derech Agav? No, where? What? What's the Chavish? That's the one that goes into Ramat Gan? It continues into Ramat Gan? It continues. Yerushalayim continues into Ramat Gan. Right? So somebody asked this question to Rechaim Knievsky, and Rechaim's in one of those Rechaim books, like the Archsich, one of the Rechaim books. And they asked Rechaim, and Rechaim said that the neighborhoods around Bnei Brak have dogs. This is already progress. Now we're getting somewhere. I mean, Ramat Gan has dogs. That's more dogs than probably children. So we know for sure that they have dogs. So he's already giving us a little bit of Hagdara that you don't necessarily need the dogs in Bnei Brak. I'd say it a little bit differently. If you would see a dog in Bnei Brak, would you, I guess after you cross the street, right? But after you cross, would you say, whoa, I don't see a dog in Bnei Brak? What would you say? Nussi, you learned this, so you have a right to talk. Well, sorry?
Neighborhoods in Bnei Brak are not from, typically.
In Bnei Brak, there are neighbors that aren't from. It's different neighborhoods, or it's just broken up by streets? It's like, just different, but I'm saying it's broken up by streets, or it's like there's natural geographical reasons that there are different neighborhoods. Not really. Well, what do you say? You also went to neighborhood. What? The edges. I also thought it's more like the edges. It's not really, Sorry? Yeah, the edge. So, what Vinishvi, I'm not going to go, all I know is that Reb Nissen and Reb Chaim both hold that Bnei Brak is called matzi dogs, and I think we all agree it's not so matzi. So that's already Hagdara. That's already Hagdara from Gdolei Hador, that's already enough called matzi. Now we're getting somewhere. For example, Ramat Shlomo is across the street from the Arabs, and they're right across the street, these guys. There's like a little street that separates between us and them. It's very, I've never seen a dog Kimat in Ramat Shlomo. Kimat, I told you the whole story, but the Kimat, I've never seen a dog. Those guys all have dogs. Right? I drive through to get to yeshiva. I drive through Shufat. Those guys all have dogs. I mean, it's a very normal thing by the Arabs to have dogs, right? Some of them are married to them. I mean, it's a very normal thing to have dogs. That's for sure. So these dogs, is that called matzi by us? It's a street. It's across the street. Is it a raya from Reb Nissen? It's not mamish a raya, because these streets and these neighborhoods are so broken apart mitzad their clientele. So that maybe, I don't know, maybe that natural, not natural geographical border, but maybe that natural animosity of border creates such a mitzias that we don't consider the dogs of Shuafat to be, Motzi Etzleinu, maybe, right? Sorry? I got outside my house, over my this is not something to think about, over my fence in the back. My house is the border of Ramat Shlomo, and I mean, nobody should tell this to Biden, but it's the part of where the green, what's it called again? The green line, whatever, because that area is the green area, whatever. And over there, I was looking out there in the afternoon just now, and I saw over there, every night I hear coyotes, and I mean, I don't know if I'm hearing coyotes, but that's what I always dreamed they sounded like, right? I hear coyotes. What? No, those aren't Arabs. Those I hear them too. What? Jackals. Yeah, I hear those guys also, right? There was a deer. There's a lot of stuff going on there. There's goats. Is that enough to be called mutzi? They're like at the border. Is that also called mutzi because they're like nearby? Is that called mutzi? not so clear. Ramat Eshkol to Sanhedrin Muchevet. I don't think there are dogs in Sanhedrin Muchevet. Who lives there? Rabbi Miller, I think you live there, no? Are there dogs in Sanhedrin Muchevet? I don't think so. Right? Ramat Eshkol there are. So Ramat Eshkol, we know there's dogs, that's for sure. Okay. What about in Sanhedrin Muchevet? So I would think that for sure from Rav Nissen and Rav Chaim, that it's enough that there's dogs in Ramat Eshkol that covers Sanhedrin Muchevet. I think it probably, this covers all these neighborhoods over here. I would imagine that it covers, Maldafna and whatnot. I imagine, even though they're not coming, that's the part I'm not so sure. Would it cover like Ezra's Torah or something? I'm not so sure. But, in Maldafna, you also have dogs probably, at the top of Maldafna over there by the school over there, the top over there. So these neighborhoods are certainly covered with dogs, enough so at least Klapei Halacha. Ramat Shlomo, I told you I'm a little bit misupik about. I think there's a makom to be makel, but it's not barur. It's not such a barudik thing. What? What? Yeah, Shimon Novi is a lot of Breslov Rechev, and those guys, they can have anything. They discover, what? I'm saying, give me a, what? Petach Tikva? Petach Tikva has dogs? He means Rechot Petach Tikva. These guys in America, they don't understand. What? Yeah, okay. So listen, if it's matzui, is it something that you feel is normal and common? Then you have the heter of dogs. Don't forget you have the heter of cats. Don't forget you have the heter of fish. Fish save us for there's a lot of goldfish going around, that's for sure. And they save us klape breadcrumbs. That's, so the chayram, there's definitely, I'd say it like this. I'd say it's not clear. It's not me saying it's not clear. It's not clear. It's not so clear in our Metzias. I did see that the Aruch HaShabbos brings down from Rav Shmuel Orbach. There's a certain stima in the Shulchan Aruch here. The Shulchan Aruch says like this. He says, "Kol shu roi l'maychel chayav v'oif hametzuyin metaltel l'noisai." The main roi yellow l'maychel oif that are not metzuyin, they're not. Okay, and the Shulchan Aruch and Siv Chav Zayin, Atzamas and Klipin, the roi for klavim and Klipin roi l'maychel beima, upruer and shein ben kazayis. There's like a certain steam over here that the Shulchan Aruch and the Mishnah Berurah, they come together. There's it's only like if it's some weird animal, then it's not called matzi. Like if you have some kind of a food that's only roi for like an elephant or something, so then that wouldn't be matzi. I don't know if eggshells are roi for anybody. All the things we're talking about are basically bones, and I said yesterday skin and fat is anyways mutter, but we're talking about bones basically. That's really the big nafkamina, because shells, I would imagine what's the mitzias of like orange peels. Orange peels. So, what? Right, I'm saying monkeys, yes. But what about the things that we have at Slenu, the dogs and cats? I don't think the dogs and cats are eating, they're not. I'm saying they're not eating peels. So I didn't help you for peels. What? You're in public. Right? You agree with him? You don't. Okay? People eat orange peels. You eat the fuzzy kiwi? Huh? Okay? Fine. Banana peel also? Banana peel? No, that's not normal. No. No. Okay.
People who act like dogs.
Wait, so anyways, listen, Rabbi say, he said, don't, you eat the orange peel, I understand, but they do something to it though. They're saying so, yeah, but in the matzav it's in right now, it's not right. It becomes like the next sif of raw food. It's like a raw food type of svar. It's not edible. It's not edible. No, you have to do something to it. It's like raw food. It's like the sugi of raw food. Right? What? Sorry? Right, they cook it in sugar. So I'm right. They're not normal, right? I'm right. Okay, everybody said, remember I had a gavel. Who remembers that? I had a whose time was that? Right? Remember we had a gavel all the way back and sent it to it back then. Anyways, but that was a warning. But so listen, it could be that people eat peels, and certainly as you see, respect people that eat peels, right? But mitzad sheni, it's a vada that they don't eat it in the matzah. They have to do something, a process to them. But maybe not kiwi. I'm hearing from Rabbi Amoyo. No, all of them not. I love you. I love you. But okay, kiwi for sure. Not. And what about orange peels? What? I hear, but I've seen people, do a lot of things. I'm talking right now. Is it normal? Right, but they have to process it. Huh? Rabbi Shwade, why are you being so quiet? You have something to say? No? Is there a reason not? You also eat it, don't you? No, not anymore. Not after this year. No. I don't know. Lay there. Fine. The Rabbi said, he told him Metzias. I don't know the Metzias. It could be. I'm not. It definitely could be. It could be. If taka, the oil meats, you have to figure it out. If the oil meats, the orange peels, there's enough people eating it. If not, don't get confused. A comment that there's only a few people eating them, or they might be eating them after a processing, then that'll go into the next sif. That we have to talk about Siflam and Al, Siflam and Beis. We talked about raw meat and Mitzvah Shem. We'll get there in a moment, hopefully today. But Akapanim, Allah Maisa, what I'm helping you for is, let's say, bones, certainly fat and skin. The gabe shells, I'm definitely nervous. The gabe most shells, I'm nervous. Grata, do cats eat the shells of the seeds? What? They don't eat them? They don't eat them. Okay. I'm saying he's a catologist, and he says they don't. I don't know. Kids are. It's not bar. These things are not bar. These things are low bar. Right? Yeah. So I found out about a dog today. I park up there if you ever notice, right? So there's every day there's somebody who comes, who picks up right next to me over there in the car, right next to me. Every day in that big Jeep over there. Every day picks up their daughter, and they have a dog in the car. Every day they leave the dog in the car, sits there and learns next to me, right? So when they came, I'm already Heimish with the dog, right? So when the person came, as I said there, the dog over here, does he eat bones? Right? Lama ataroteladat. You have to understand, every day I sit there talking to her dog, Lama ataroteladat. I told her, I said, אנחנו לומדים עכשיו הלכות של מוקצה. מה זה מוקצה? יש דברים שאסור לגעת בשבת, there are some things, I said לגעת, I should have said לזוז, but there are some things you're not allowed to move on Shabbos, but we don't say that if it's something that people could use, and animals could use, and animals הם מאוד חשובים לכלל ישראל, So I want to know if your dog eats bones, right? She told me, hu ochel hakol. את נותנת לו, למה לא? Right? Say that. So, we already have Adis from, Nimroda or whatever her name was up there. Right? We have Adis that she feeds the dog bones and they do eat them and whatever. So all the stuff that you're hearing that the dogs don't eat this stuff, it's all fake news, right? But now, one more thing is that, so I don't know, again, out of Saif, I must admit, I'm in the Metzias, I wasn't out of Saif. I don't know, I can't talk to cat owners what they eat, because anybody who owns a cat, he's buying this guy like Garfield bits and like good stuff. He's not feeding him so it's hard, but because my svar is that the cats are eating everything in the garbage. Right? We know that the cat is eating bones of fish and things like that. He loves that. That for sure we have what to talk about. But I saw Shmuel Orbach has brought down in Yorchas Shabbos that he says the whole world has changed. The dogs, the animals used to be much more mutzy, and You can't bring rayas from stimas apoiskim, klapi. A lot of the things we were medayik was based on stimas apoiskim and whatnot. Whether we don't say mezainos of Allah. Or a lot of the svaras we were saying is based on the stimas of Moshe's brew of years mashma that you don't need to actually throw it, and the stimas of dvarim is that you don't actually have to be allowed to give it. He says you can't be medayik. They had a whole different society than us, and I don't know. I don't know. I think that's a tzarachian. I think it's tzarachian, especially when you look at the svaras that are involved. The svaras that are involved are, is it a dover that is roy? If you see from her, she's got a dog. She just covered us for the whole area over here. Bones are not muks on. The most I know is that bones are not muks on Shabbos. I don't know how far with the gabe shells and things like that. I think eggshells, we're all going to agree with. I think peels seems to be a little bit of a shiloh here, and that's berach. That's berach what we came out with. The tremendous nafkamina, because now your garbage, Rabbi Isai, has all that stuff, and it's not muksa. That means when you're taking the plate to the garbage, she's not muksa. You don't have to put the fork on the plate. She's not muksa. What? So the zoo is complicated because I don't know how to look at the zoo. It gets back to that shaila that it's fenced off and nobody can get in and whatever, and you certainly it's like, I don't know, maybe there's something more about like it being illegal to feed them, but lefida, I don't know. We didn't finish yet. 1 second, slowly. There, avada, if you have, I don't need them for the dogs. There's plenty of dogs in those neighborhoods there. I need them for like elephant food, So, but let's see. That's the next line. Shulchan Aruch comes again to Shulchan Aruch in the next line. And Shulchan Aruch says, okay, but what if you have an animal that is weird? That's different. What's an animal like a goat? What? A monkey, right? Or right? A hippopotamus. You said it, man. Right? A hippopotamus or whatever. So now I have a hippo, right? Sie esst alles. She eats everything, right? Or I have whatever. Or the zoo. So it's true. Inside the zoo, that definitely has the shame of food and whatever. Okay. So now the two things here. First of all, one shaila I asked Rabbi Yashiv. This shaila I asked personally to Rabbi Yashiv. I once asked Rabbi Yashiv, let's say, because over here it seems to say you have an animal. That's first of all, right? So I asked, what if you don't have an animal, but you live right next door? Mamish next door, you see a goat all the time and whatever. So is that enough? Like, it has to be my animal? It has to be my animal? Because here the rules are a little bit different. Don't get confused. That which I kept saying the whole time has a shame of animal food because they exist, the animals. That's because the cheftza is an animal food, klape the mitzias that goes on here. Here, the only reason it's food is because this animal is going to eat it, maybe, right? That's definitely a svara that one could have said. Right? Rabbi Yashiv said not like that. Rabbi Yashiv said, if you have a neighbor, I have, charata, I don't know what I asked him then. I don't know if I asked him. I asked shachin. That's how it's written on my paper, shachin. I don't know if you're 2 houses down. I don't know how close, later. But if you're a neighbor, so then you do have a heter. That's one question. A second question is that what if I don't plan on feeding the animal? I'm never ever giving this goat. I have eggshells and the goats, they pound the stuff, right? But I don't plan on giving it to him. So even though till now I said you don't need to plan on giving it, but that's because b'mahusai, that was the cheftza of an animal food in a neighborhood that has animals. But here, maybe it's all based on if I'm actually going to feed it. Maybe even the owner himself. So just one moment. Maybe even the owner himself. This I saw in the Hilchos Shabbos b'Shabbos. He says over there that you have to be machmer in this shaila. Right? He says that the whole svara over here is that, what's the ganze svara over here? The whole svara is that if you have that animal, so then it's mutal title, the Michael Haroi Lo'oisai Min. Doesn't sound like him in Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch sounds like if it's Roy, that's enough. Shulchan Aruch doesn't sound like him, and therefore I don't agree. And I understood from Rabbi Yashiv also not like that. And Rabbi Yashiv is saying, just like a neighbor works, and it didn't sound like our conversation was not that the neighbor is actually feeding it. Because I think that's pashut. I don't need Rabbi Yashiv for that. If the neighbor actually feeds the goat and he always comes over every Motzei Shabbos with all of his garbage, I don't think there's any tzad that such a thing should be muksa. So I think, again, I can't tell you exactly what I asked Rabbi Yashiv, but I understand that from that dialogue, that versteht, if you have a neighbor or you yourself have a goat, and you're not planning on feeding him the shells into this, but if it's right for him, that's also enough. So you're sitting pretty. You're sitting pretty with your hippopotamus over there. Okay, that's number 2. Number 3, the last thing over here before we go into the next sif is I saw like this. I saw the Mincha Shabbos. The Mincha Shabbos was like 100 years ago. Mincha Shabbos writes in Peiches Tez Zayin. He talks about medicine, and he says from our sif is the reason why if someone was sick before Shabbos, if someone was sick before Shabbos, he's going to be allowed to be metaltal medicine and that medicine is considered not muksa. Regular medicine, he's saying that's, I don't mean like Tylenol, Advil, or whatever. He means like a regular medicine a medicine like an antibiotic or something like that nobody plans on using is muksa. If you get sick on Shabbos, fine, you might have a heter because makam chayli or something, but bikaron, it's muksa. It's not moving around the drawer. We spoke about this, that it has muksa, it has medicine in it. So the drawer is muksa. And if you have roiv medicines that are muksa in there, so then it's a basis to the davarasas. You can't open up the drawer. That idea. He says, but Mashenkin, if the fellow was sick before Shabbos, so he says, so I'm telling you it's not muksa. He says, why? He comes from our sif. He comes from our sif. What does it say in our sif? It says, if you have an animal, even though in the town it's not matzui, so he says, but it doesn't matter, a it's right for him, then that becomes Michael Behema. So he says, if you have a person, he's sick, so even though chaylim isn't matzui, and that's why maybe medicine in general is muksa, but that that he's sick, if the person's sick, so then no, that becomes like mamish sif. That's im yeshlei my oisay min. You're the sick person, the chayla mutal taltel, the medicine haroy loisay min, because it becomes roy. That's what he says. Adkan. I'm not sure, but I have a kasha on the whole medicine now. I must tell you, I'm about to ask a question on everybody. I didn't see anybody that says that medicine is not muksa on Shabbos. I didn't see, everybody says medicine's muksa on Shabbos, except for this chashbon. They all agree to this chashbon that if the person was sick before Shabbos, it's not muksa. Then I started thinking, what's the shaykhus b'chlal? But I realized if I go too far with this, I'm going to get into trouble. What's the shaykhus b'chal? You have food, which is people food. People food that now it turned into garbage. It's shells, eggshells. You don't have a goat, so then this is garbage, right? That makes sense. Du hast ja a goat, so then you have an eggshell, so then it's roy for him. So then I understand that's the sif, that's the chiddush in our sif over here. That makes sense to me. You have a people food. It's oimid when you have an animal, even if it's not oimid for that purpose. But the shame of it, klape the goat, that exists, he's a person too, right? He lives in the house. So then I can understand that it changes its shame. I can understand because since it is something that the musig exists, right? Goats eat this stuff. So therefore you have a goat. So even if you don't plan on feeding the goat, I said a minute ago, but it doesn't matter. I can understand the changes, right? Medicine, I don't understand. Medicine as a shaykhis. Medicine, milichatchila, was made for the purpose of being medicine for someone sick. Right? That's what it is. It was made an oimid for that. So let's start back a minute. What is that? It's you're taking a bunch of chemicals and protons and croutons and all types of stuff, and you put them all together. You take this thing and you are miyached it as a piece of medicine. Right? That's what you did. You're miyached this thing. It makes people better. That's what you did. You made something over here. What is that? Why is that muksa? Because I don't have somebody that's sick? Why is that muksa? I made something that I don't have people that want to eat it. They don't like the food. They don't like the taste of it. I made a food that no one likes. Is that muksa? They only like it sometimes. What? Where's the gzera? There's no gzera. You mean because it's also to take medicine on Shabbos. So then it should be a klish machtali iser. If Shlomo Zalman has a tzad like that. Yeah, God, I was thinking such a thing. Maybe you'll say some medicine, but again, they're going. Let's start a step back. They're going. It's muksa machmas gufa. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein says this. I'm fighting Rabbi Moshe Feinstein. I'm fighting everybody. That's why I'm nervous what I'm going to say now. But once I started realizing that I don't understand the Mincha Shabbos, I started, it's not the pshat that this thing turned into something. On Erev Shabbos, there was somebody sick, so this thing turned into medicine. No, it didn't. It was always medicine. You just didn't have takers. You just didn't have clientele. This thing was always medicine. How's that doima to you have a shell on a Shabbos that a person doesn't have a goat? So then this thing is muksa. When there's a goat, so then it turns into animal food. So then something changed here. That's a chiddush. Here, what's the shaykhis? Here you have something which was made to be used for sick people. The fact that I don't have sick people doesn't take away that it was a davar that's miyuchid for usage. You just don't have users. You don't have takers. You don't take us. Why isn't it like, you know what it's like? Lahavdil. But it's like, Yana Becher of Yana Tzaddik of Geretta Free. We spoke way back when. I never, ever use that Becher, ever, unless it's Sheva Brachas. Never, and anybody touches it, we cut off his nose. We don't, no one goes near that Becher. We said, that's not Muksa. That's not Muksa. Punkt, you don't have a Sheva Brachas now. Punkt, you don't have a Sheva Brachas. What's more shchiach? Being sick or Sheva Brachas? I don't know. It's probably about equal. I don't know. Depends if you're Yerushalmi, you're not like that. I don't know. I'm saying, what's more frequent? So why isn't that ointment? So Rabbi Rosenberg, Abi says, okay, but maybe it's a klisha malachta liyeser. Maybe. I'm not afraid of you. That could be. Maybe, but it's not evil muksa. No, it's a tremendous nafkamina. Nafkamina is that my drawer, can I open up my drawer? because we just said that if you have more evil muksa than the other fellow, so then it's a basis l'davar aser. Mashenkin, if it's a kli shemachal yeser, it's tzarich mekoymai. I need the makim. So I don't know. No one says like your Rabbi. I'm wrong. Sorry? Come again? No, because there you have to change. It has to change. That's not true. When you have something like a shell, so the pshat is that the stomach of the shell is what? I don't see why the stomach should be more garbage than animal food. If I have an animal, it turns into animal food. If I don't, it's garbage because it's changing. Wait, Rabbi Buki, I'll prove to you it's changing. In halacha, mamish changes. Beforehand, it was called oichel. Oichel, you're allowed to move according to all the poskim for no reason at all. The Pri Megadim says animal food becomes a kli shemalachta leheter. It changed. It's a different chefza. Kli shemalachta leheter, we learned there's rules. Sometimes you could move it, sometimes you can't. The rice, the minhag is to be makel, but it doesn't matter. You see, it's a different chefza. So of course, to change something is going to be dependent on factors and whatever, because you're changing something. Here, this medicine was made before Shabbos. So what's the shaykhis bichlal? I don't understand it. I know I'm wrong, but what? 100%. Meichas. No question in the world. What? Yeah. So again, so that case, it changed. Fine. So changes into that. It changes into a mlachal eter. Right? Hippo food. I guess the same type of shot, I suppose, yeah. You're saying it's the same type of shot. Let's say you have, okay. It's the same type of shot. Let's say you have hippopotamus food in your house because the hippo, died. Right? Okay, and you're left with this dead hippo and all the so the hippo, this carcass is a muksa machmas gufa. It's an evil muksa, right? But the what's it called? But the hippo food. Now I have all this hippo food. Am I allowed to move around the hippo food on Shabbos? Maybe it's a kli shemachta iser or heter. I don't know. What? Kli we found many times that it's not do. Neither is. One second. Over here it says in the Pri Megadim, the bone becomes malachta leheter. The bone is not a kli either, right? But it's first that it's not telling him what's called a kli. It's not telling him what's called a kli. You see, kli means davar that's oimid for usage or not. I don't know. Listen, let me tell you a big insight. When everybody says not like me, I'm vade wrong, right? When some people say not like me, maybe I'm right. What? I agree. I agree with you. Go on. Wait, one second. Why? Slowly. That's noilad. We got it on hold of noilad on Shabbos. But one second. I'm saying we're going that there's no noilad. So there's no migudis katzai. But I'm asking, why is it? I'm arguing on the premise. Why, as when Shabbos came in, are you saying it's migudis katzai on this medicine because I just don't have takers? Who cares? I made something which is usable. I don't have people that are using it. Why is it different than my case of the zayt is a becher? No one is using that becher. There's no chasanas, right? So there's no chasanas now anyway. So it can't be there's even a shefa brachas, right? Sorry.
That's a kli.
This is also a kli. It is also a kli. This is better than a kli. It's like an oichel. It's better than a kli.
It's used for when you're sick.
So then it's a kli shemakdal leheter, okay? Because it's the same thing as what? I made a kli to make someone better. So then call it a kli shemakdal leheter, the smallest it's going to be. Or like Rabbi, that's a zaytik in a kuda. It might be a kli shemakdal yeser because I'm only allowed to use my grada. I'm not sure if I agree. My marmozga, I'll tell Rabbi Rosenberg because I love him. I don't know if I agree. I think it's a kli shemakdal leheter because there are cloud when the person is sick taking antibiotics. Which medicines are we talking about? We're talking about the type of medicines usually that he's going to be allowed to take on Shabbos. Those are the ones that are usually muksa because the ones that he's not allowed to take on Shabbos, ironically, like a Tylenol and things like that, are usually not muksa because because they're so common and whatever. So I think, if you want my opinion, I think it's a kli shemakdal leheter because usually they're oimid for a mutter on Shabbos. You could argue on that. I'm not getting involved in that, child. I think they're usually like antibiotics. We allow a person to take antibiotics on Shabbos. Right? When he needs to take antibiotics, he's allowed to take it because we say it's going to create the chayli in his body and whatever. So I think it's something that was made and fashioned to be used for sick people, and therefore I don't understand why it's muksa. I'm wrong, so I won't press this point. But if anybody can ever tell me why I'm wrong, I would appreciate it. I'll write you a piece of paper that you're going if you can explain to me why I'm wrong. What? I'll stamp it also. You got to call me. I have the stamp in the house usually. What? It's all based on this. I'm saying, what? Sorry? Well, let's see. No, maybe he's right. Maybe that's first in Shin Kaf Ches. that the medicine itself is muksa. If it's first, then I'm talking about a pill that was made. That's why it might not be a raya there, but we're in Shinkav Ches Bazud. It's been where? It's Zion. Let's see. Where does it say it? In the Mishpur? Where is she? Nunches? Anything was no. Where? No, he's talking about milk. That was no. That was a felony, Derech Hagav. No, I don't see it. Anyone see it? Still don't see it? Still don't see it? I don't think I'm going to see it, Derech Hagav. No. No, it's not here. So I don't know. What? I don't know. What? Wait. No, let's not talk about this. I'm wrong. So why should we talk about it? What? Okay, so I'm talking, what? So, and therefore what? But that's not called matzi. That's what the Mincha Shabbos is saying. He's saying that's not called matzi. It's not enough. Chaylim is not matzi. Taisus in Psachim says already. Chaylim aren't matzi. What? Sorry? What about a bar of soap? But here it's made for a mutatika purpose, no? It's like a bar of soap that I can't use. But I could use. I come to somebody to be sick, it'd be mutter to use. Right?
When somebody's not.
Let's go back. That's something that I'm obviously wrong about. Why should we talk about that? Another thing is adjuim, which I mentioned back then, the apricot pits, right? So we mentioned back then that if the apricot, you eat the apricot on Shabbos and the pit comes out. So first of all, very important to remember, on Yontif, there's an issue of noilad. You have to remember this. On Yontif, there's an issue of noilad. So did I mention this back then? The adjuim on Yontif are for sure also. Right? I don't know if it's adjuim season, but the apricots on Yontif are for sure also, because it's true that maybe the kids it's only for the usage of the children, but it's definitely muksa because noilad is muksa. Noilad's muksa. That's first of all. Second of all, we asked a question back then. We asked a question that how could anybody say that adjuim is muksa on Shabbos? There was I don't know if you remember, there was a tzad that we said that adjuim would be muksa even on Shabbos. And who was it? Chachani? It's Reb Nissen. Reb Nissen said that it's also on Shabbos. Maisa, it's a pella on our sugi, right? What's the difference between adjuim and the bones that are right for behemoths, right? The children lavdal, right? But the children they're waiting for these bones, they're waiting for these pits, and they're aiming for usage. And the same way that if it's matzui and it's normal and it's a normal usage and whatever, if it's enough of a normal usage, right? It's okay. The feed Svardim, there's nothing to discuss because it's not called a normal usage. They're miyachaded for a shtus. So that doesn't have a shame of a yichud or whatever. But the feed Ashkenazim, that you could be miyachid something as a game. So then it's oimid, that's what the apricot is oimid for. There's enough children in Yerushalayim that certainly hold that they're oimid for the usage. So even if you plan on throwing them out, that doesn't matter. They're matzi. Even if you plan on throwing it out, at least on Shabbos, it should be mamish. It's a charetz, mefurish, even Shulchan Aruch. How can anybody argue on that? How can there be another side of the world? At least for the Ashkenazim, it's a mefurish, even Shulchan Aruch. That if you have mamish, I could read it into the Shulchan Aruch straight. Shulchan Aruch says, I could mamish read the Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch says, Kol shu roi leMichael, the Michael child hamitzuyim metaltalin. So what's the nidin? What's the side? Anybody want to be matzik Reb Nissen? Well, yeah. So I totally disagree. He says, what do you mean? The bone is food. And therefore, how could you compare? Because the apricot is a toy, it's not food. No, the bone is not food. And the Prima Gadim says it's a klish malachta the heter. Oichel is oichel, and oichel of chicken is oichel. You can move it, bein litzarich, everything in the world. It doesn't matter. It's never in the xer of moksa. When it turns into on Shabbos animal food, it is a different category. It's a different category. It's a kli shebalachta le'eter. It's a different category. It's changed its function. It's not food. It's something else. So then I see no difference. Is this what you were telling me, Rabbi Lieberman? Rabbi Lieberman, is this what you want to tell me also? I don't see any difference. So I don't understand Rav Nissen. It's Archi and Gadol. Therefore, if these things come out on Shabbos, even if you don't have kids that are playing with these abjuim or whatever, so then at least in Yerushalayim, actually probably anywhere in Eretz Yisrael, at least anywhere there's Charedim, but anywhere in Eretz Yisrael, if you could take apricot pits and you're allowed to move them around on Shabbos. Here's Amaisa. You're trying to figure out why is it kedai to taka live in Eretz Yisrael. It's so much better in America. You get a car and everything, right? It's so much better. So you say, you're making lists of pros and cons. So now you have like this. What do you mean? In America, apricot pits, apricots? I said apricots, right? Not the apricot, right? Apricot pits in America are muksa. America, and in order to be able to move them, you have to leave over little bits of like flesh and everything and whatever. So, how many chances you might be over muksa? So who wants to take such a chance? But Mashenka, you live in Eretz Yisrael, apricot pits are always not muksa, at least on Shabbos. Yontif is the problem in Oilad, right? So okay, Klape Yontif, you're right that it's equal, living in Eretz Yisrael and whatever. No, but then you keep one day. Okay, let's go right. Okay, that's Sif Chavtas, Sif Lamed. Okay, Garine Tmarim. Now it gets Lebedik. Today, okay, now it's about to get Lebedik. If I thought about the eating habits of my oilam, were interesting. Now this is where it comes out. Interesting eating habits. Okay, so the Mishabur over here, the Shulchan Aruch says if you have Garine Tmarim, the date pits. So the Shulchan Aruch says over here, date pits are only the makam atchak because really animals don't eat them and whatever. Okay, comes again the Rebbe. So Derech Agav, there's a Mishabur over here, which is an important Mishabur. We mentioned it. I'll just mention it. It's all based on a sugya. There's a Gemara over there in Kuf Mem Gimel that talks about Rav Sheshis and Adam Chashiv, that he had pits in his mouth and he spit them out. It's a Derech Agav to our sugya. And everyone's trying to figure out why did Rav Sheshis spit out the pits. Okay, I mentioned back then, it's all based on this, because over here it's talking about pits that are muksa. So Rav Moshe, I mentioned back then, Rav Moshe in Hey Tes Hey, really it's before Rav Moshe, the Baal Tanya in Samach Zayin, Derech HaShulchan in Sifnun Hey, and Rav Moshe, they all say that from that Gemara, you have to spit out pits on Shabbos that are muksa, and you're not allowed to take them out with your hand. You can't take it out with your hand. Explain, because in your mouth, you're not being mitatal muksa. Mashenke, the second you put it into your hand, now you went from a non-tiltal to a tiltal. We spoke about this. Rav Moshe says it's in the first Gemara. That's what Rav Sheshis did. It's just interesting to know. The Mishnah Berurah has a bigger chumrah in that, in our sif. Mishnah Berurah says, it's a big chumrah, but that's what Mishnah Berurah says. And Sivkat and Kufcha Beis, it's a shot how to learn the pshat and the sugi and the Gemara over there. But the Mishnah Berurah over here, Mishnah Berurah says, he says, you have to, Adam Chashiv, the Shulchan Aruch already says, Adam Chashiv tzarich lahachmer al atzmai lo letaltal erech derech shinoi. You have to spit it out of your mouth. These pits, you have to spit out of your mouth. Now, I told you, Derech HaShulchan, the Graz, and Rav Moshe, they're talking about pits which are beyond a shadow of a doubt muksa. Let's say an apricot pit in America, or something like that, right? So B'kai Govna, I got ahead of shadow. One of the grandparents, so he found out that the kids were collecting apricots pits, right? It's going back like a few years ago, and so he used to always save them. He used to always save them, right? He's always saving them. I was thinking to myself, maybe we're machshalim on Shabbos. He used to save them. He lived in Chutz La'aretz, right? And then maybe he was doing it on Shabbos also, right? Over there, do you say that because he's being miyachided for shtus that doesn't exist there? What? It's like a guy who's saving goat food for. It's like an interesting shot I was thinking about. I'm not sure. What do you think? What? No, it's just preservation. It's not preparation. That doesn't bother. But the child is that here it doesn't have a shame of a game. So here it's not a Michael Behema B'chal. Even though he wants it, he has goats in Eretz Yisrael. Halakha goats, right? But he has goats in Eretz Yisrael. How does it work? A guy that has goats in Eretz Yisrael. I don't know the answer. Does anybody know? What? No. But here he's bringing it with him. I'm saying he's bringing it. He has goats in a different country. Because what's the law of somebody has goats? It's a very miyuchadik question. We never heard this shayla before because most people never did this. But if you have goats in a different country and you save for them eggshells on Shabbos, out of the city, you have goats out of the city. It could be exists. I don't know. It could be people have farms. I don't know. So then are you allowed on Shabbos? Is it muksa klape you? Are you this halacha that in yesh loy me oisay min chayoif mataltaltal.
Is it the same?
I'm not sure.
Like if your family happens to play that game really, really fun, so your kids play with that, but
So there, if my kids play with apricot pits in America, so then I could apply the first Shulchan Aruch. If yesh loy me oisay min chayoif mataltaltal, because it's right for them, that wouldn't bother me. Here's worse. Here is the pshat is that he's bringing them to the goats in the Holy Land. I'm not sure if the answer to this question. What? It could be that you need the shame, that it has that shame, Michael Behema. Here you need that shame game. I'm not sure. Maybe in this country it doesn't have that shame. Maybe it's totally in the Torah of how we misyaches to it. Chazon Ish has a mashmais like that. How do we look at this item? When we see a date pit a shell, I don't know why, if somebody has a goat. The fact that he's feeding it, not feeding it, but we see here Michael Behema because to do a behema, it's to do a goat, right? But Mashen King, if he has a goat in a different city, maybe I don't see here the Michael Behema. This I'm not sure about. I must admit, I'm not sure. What? Sorry? It'll turn on Shabbos, maybe. I'm saying it'll turn, what do you mean?
why do you make a difference if you're feeding them now or you're going to feed them in a week?
No, because maybe, again, it has to have that shame. You have to see Michael Behema here. It doesn't. Maybe it doesn't, because in this city, there is no goats. There's no goats. Maybe there's no goats at all. Even I don't have a goat. You know, I don't. Okay, no, I'm not sure. I sent the Shiloh to Reb Chaim. I didn't get an answer, because I only thought the Shiloh, middle of yesterday sometime. I don't know the answer. I wasn't going to say it, and then it slipped out. I was waiting to get the answer, but it slipped out, the Shiloh. Anyways, but as Hashem, hopefully the teretz will slip out also. Someone told me that there's a way. I gave it to somebody to usually have somebody that goes for me on Tuesday. But somebody else told me that now you can email Reb Chaim. So told me. I don't think Reb Chaim. I don't think he mail these. But somebody told me that you could email him. Like there's a. So he's emailing. Let's see what we get. I'm just worried. Maybe it's not Reb Chaim. Maybe it's like I don't know. We're gonna find out. Later. Anyways, okay, we'll find out. Anyways. But so Tachlis, Mishabru over here says that the Shulchan Aruch says over here that when you're dealing with these date pits, so it says the Shulchan Aruch, an Adam Chashiv should be machmir. Dahainu, a date pit is something that the animals could theoretically eat. And when we spoke about this, not such a so therefore maybe it's not so clear. Maybe it's muksa garina tomorrow makom. If they feed the animals, then it's mutter. If they don't feed the animals, it's not mutter. But if you live in a place where they taka feed the animals, date pits, but since it's not really so right, whatever, so therefore says the Shulchan Aruch, you should be machmir and spit them out. Do it with a shinoi. Hagam, it's not muksa, because you're living in a place that they do actually feed the animals these day pits. You should still be machmir, says the Mishabura, because an Adam Chashiv has to be machmir on these things because people are going to learn from him. Since there are places that don't actually feed the animals these day pits, so people are going to go the gam, and they're not really, and they're only royal yidei atchak. So an Adam Chashiv must be machmir. Adam Chashiv must be machmir. Okay, I told you. Others learn pshat in the Gemara that it's talking about that it was be'emes not right, but no matter what, you see two things from here. You see, number one, if it's be'emes not right, if it's real moksa, no question you have to spit it out. That's Reb Moshe, that's the grass. The Mishmur is a chumrah. He's saying even if you have something which isn't so clear, you should still spit it out because you're an Adam Chashiv. Who's an Adam Chashiv? So Moshe Tarmach says that's somebody that people are going to learn from. I guess everybody here is for sure an Adam Chashiv. You guys are learning moksa, and I'm borrowed that everywhere you go, you guys are talking about the raid of moksa and what's going on in moksa. Everybody here knows. Everybody knows you guys are learning moksa. I know because a lot of people come to me and say, "Oh, I know you're learning moksa." Because so Mel, you guys are all learning moksa. So Mel, you guys for sure would have to. It doesn't matter because most of these pits are anyways going to be totally moksa, which you're going to have to spit out anyways, and you won't be able to take them out. But even if you would find some pit, like a date pit or something, in a place where they feed it, you guys are Adam Chashiv, then you won't have that heter. You won't be able to. You'll have to spit out the date pits. Okay, not such a negative thing. For example, we'll see in a minute. Let's get to the pits. So the Be'er Lacha says here an unbelievable thing. Unbelievable. Listen to Be'er Lacha. The Be'er Lacha says in Garine, he says like this. He says, well, you should know Garine tapuchim at the end of Garine tapuchim v'agasim, the pits of apples and pears. Says the Mishabura and the Be'er Lacha, bilav hachi efshe yesh lahakal. Should know those things. He dined over here, the Mishabur. We spoke about this already, about certain pits that are, the animals punked, you don't feed them, but they're certainly edible. He said, that's probably not muksa. Sure, that's not muksa. But then he goes on, he says like this, but if you have apple pits and pear pits, he said, that the love hachi is not muksa. Why? You could be makel. Efsher. I told you yesterday, what's efsher in the Mishabura? What's after? What's after? After is a psak. This is a psak from the Rebbe and the Mishabura. Hakam Avir the Chashabes on this. He says he doesn't know if the Mishabura what Sarachim. It's after is a psak. Says the Mishabura, you could be makel. Why? Because people can also eat apple pits and pear pits. Okay? Says there. Sometimes you actually eat straight through the apple. Who's seen this? Who's seen it? Who's seen it? Who's seen it? Okay. Who's seen it? Okay. Next. Oh, come on, Levi. Come on, Levi. Okay. Who's seen it? Now, who does it? One. Come on. Come on. Don't be shy. Come on. Go for it. Come on. No. Not knowing. Come on. Who does it? What? Only by pairs. What? The Rebbe's apple. By the pears. Who's seen it by an old person by the apples? Who remembers? Who remembers in the high and these go straight through? Who remembers? Huh? Just digging and digging. Huh? Who remembers, right? Who? I was at a Shalom Zacher before. I was the last Shalom Zacher before the whole Corona business. Mamish, I remember it like yesterday. It was Mamish. It was like Erev Purim. It was that. Mamish remembered. It Erev Purim. Purim was on a. It's like on a Friday. When was Purim? It was night before. It must have been like Yud. It was Shav Zacher. And I was it's Kishmak when you sit behind the table, you see all the interesting stuff, right? And I watched this old dude, right? He just went straight through. He went straight through, then he went to the bottom, right? And then he went to the top. Right? And no one at the table looked at him strange. Right? No one, except for me. Which led me to believe that, Yidden are great. Anyways, wait. So the Mishabura over here, it's a hard Mishabura to read. What's the reason why apple pits are not muksa? Or pear pits aren't muksa? So Mishabura says two things here. Seemingly, I'm not sure. Mishabura says, Bilav hachi, you could be makel. Why? Because deheim re'uyim aflachilas adam, because they're roy for adam. And then he says ve means and, right? And oichle noisam biyachad. V'lefamim oichle noisam biyachad. Now, does he mean one thing? What does he mean? Does he mean that because there are people that eat them straight, which Lamaisa today we're losing some of our clientele over here. Not so many pairs. We have some pear eaters over here, But does he mean because do I need that? Is it enough that it's roy that theoretically the seeds of an apple you could eat, or do I need that there's people that are actually eating them straight? That's one Claire. Listen closely. I'll explain a lot of these things. Another Claire I have over here is like this. Maybe he's eating them. Like accidentally an apple pit gets in because he goes all the way down to the bone and he doesn't really care that much. And maybe an apple, he's not going to go after the pit, but it gets in there. I'm not so sure that should be enough of a svara. If something accidentally got in, but there's levels of accidentally. Sometimes something accidentally get in and I don't really mind. Watch. Let me explain. Let's go in order, right? I saw one sefer, he wants to talk about the Art Scroll book on books in the 160, second page. He says, Lefidus Mishabura, orange pits are not muksa. Orange pits aren't muksa. Because it says amol, you'll eat an orange and the pit goes in or whatever. Right? I don't understand that. I don't understand. Something that happens accidentally, nobody wants to eat an orange pit. Right? An orange pit is a bone. Where I come from in the Hain, it tells if you eat orange pits, the orange tree is going to grow in your stomach. That's after the watermelon tree, right? You have that by you also? Who knows what I'm talking about, right? Right? So nobody wants to eat an orange pit. I don't believe that if you accidentally eat something that everyone is misakas to as a stone, that's what the Mishabura is talking about. Because the Mishabura says two things here. You need that it's roy. You need it's roy. So that's my one extreme. Let's go to the other extreme. You have these like the white pits inside the watermelon. Right, the white ones. I mean, people definitely eat them. There's no shayla in that muksa. There's no moment. Now, if you'd have a white watermelon pit on the plate, that's why I'm giving extremities. Let me explain. If you'd have a white watermelon pit on the plate, I don't know how many people are going to be pounding them. I don't know how many people are going to be going after, but it's something that you totally don't mind eating. I think that's what the Mishabura means. Like you would eat it, you don't care, you mamish don't care. It's like lichatchila pasha. It's lichatchila. It's true, you probably won't go after it, right? So those are the two extremes. The orange pit is zicher muksa, right? And the watermelon white pits, I think are zicher not muksa if this Mishabura. Then there's a lot in between. Like for example, the black pits of the watermelon. Right? I think many of us. out laziness, just eat the black pits also, right? And after we got chizik from the fact that we realized that the Alta Baba was wrong and nobody ever grew a watermelon tree, and then you realize not even a watermelon tree. There's no such thing. So then you realize the whole thing is just lakshin. So then a lot of us just sort of gave in and just like, there it's a little bit more. First of all, the Eretz Yisrael Dika black pits are not as the Schwarz American pits. Those ones are like, you know what I'm talking about? They're like, what? Oh, they don't even, really? Oh my. But everything is seedless? Oh my God. You mean I'm talking about, I'm like an old man. That's it? Huh? Oh my goodness. No, but I'm talking about the old America used to get these black pits. They were like, like the black jelly bean gewein, like a fairlift. That's not what? What? The white pits, I'll be making on the plate. The orange pits, chalila. The orange pits are mamish muksa. The black pits of the watermelon is like something I'm not so sure about. Today's black pits are very schwach. They're like almost white. They're almost like, like Caucasians. They're not the same level of everyone knows what I'm talking about, right? They're not the same level of like that, like aggressive black pit, that's what? But yeah, no, in Hanami, no. Yeah, no, wait, slow. The apple pit is like, it's like really at the border here, right? I'm not sure how to learn this Mishabura. I think that an apple pit, I know myself, I would, no way. Now it happens to be an apple has usually anyways, b'derech klal it's not to negate. It's only negate if it's the pit itself, because usually you have the core. And the core definitely you could theoretically eat a bit and whatever, even though you plan on not. So the core is not muksa. That doesn't bother. The problem I'm talking about is you have the actual pit. You have the actual pit that came out there. Is she muksa? The pear pit, is she muksa? So listen, there's no one that's going to eat the pit, right? And most of us mind and don't want to eat the pit even by accident, right? Do I have, by a show of hands, I think Roiv here don't want to. That's why we stop. Why? I was trying to think in the London. Why do you stop by the core? Do you stop by the core because it starts tasting like the rubber in the schnitzel, right? Or are you stopping by the core because there are pits there? Does everybody understand what I'm saying? Right? Everyone but Abi, I'm saying, but and Gershon also can't understand, right? But it's both, right? It's both. So I don't know. I'm noted that a pit of an apple. I don't know if you have this lashon in Mishabura. Kol garina b'chad garina tapukim b'lavach yesh like adem reuyin af lachilas adam, right? V'lefamim eichlam ma'isam b'yachad. It's like a raya. Some people even eat it together. Famim. It doesn't say some people. The famim you'll eat them b'yachad. Like in general is normal. It seems to be as normal. I'm noted that the orange pit for sure is out. The watermelon pits. I'm noted that the watermelon pits is taka. The ones we have, the white ones for sure, but even the black ones, people like really don't mind that much. That's a tremendous nafkamina. Could you take a pit out of your mouth? What's in your mouth? In your mouth is no butter. I'm saying, but it is butter. Fine, taking the good. I'm not talking about that. It's two types. It's the same meaning. Peas and carrots is also, right? But what? Yeah, this is like one of the nisim of the beer halacha. Inside that, does anybody know about this? Inside the plum pit is another nut. And it's edible. It's edible. That's what he says. I don't know. What? You try it? Awful. It's awful. It's mamish awful. No, I also would think it's awful. I know. What do you say? You don't eat it. No, you don't eat it. And I don't know. So I must admit, I'll tell you like this. Rabbi say, but let's make at least a sikum at this part. I would say that the apple pits, I'm going to be nervous about. Are you nervous about? I'm nervous about the apple pits. I don't know. But again, on the core, it doesn't bother me. Pear and apples, I'm a little bit nervous. Am I wrong about pears? That most people, pears and apples are the same, no? Huh? But people don't care as much about pears? You don't care. But an apple will never happen.
It's like a cherry.
I'm saying by an apple, it won't happen, though, right? Right? What? It's more smaller and therefore what? Therefore, there's more of a chance that you're going to get one in there. Okay, so maybe there's a chiluk between pears and whatever. Maybe again, it's not so much of a nafkamina because usually the core is not muksa anyways. The grape pits, okay, this is also nostalgic, probably, right? The grape pits. So they have pits in the grapes. What? Yeah, the grape. Now that they're. I mean, I mean, most people, those are nasty. I'm saying you might accidentally swallow it, right? But you can, at least the pear ones you could like sort of bite and whatever, and like, but the ones that are in the grapes, those are pretty bad. I don't know, like that. What? No, pomegranate. The whole thing is mutter. What do you mean? A pomegranate. How do you eat a pomegranate then? What do you eat? What? You waste of a pomegranate. What? Really?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, let me be Messiah. Rabbi say the Orchos Shabbos in the 19th parak, in the 198th ois over there, he talks about cucumber peels and carrot peels and things like that. And he says this is the same suffix that the Bir Lacha has. You have there too now. First of all, the Bir Lacha doesn't have a suffix. I told you. And he says Efsher, that's a psak. But the same suffix that he has, because he says, look, cucumber peels, when they come off, nobody eats them. Yeah. Okay. My daughters love them. Right? My wife, she scrapes them, right? They sit there, right? Cucumber peels. Yeah. First of all, it's tamua. It's tamua ma'oi to even declare such a tzad. Something that a second ago was a part of an oichel, and now you took off a piece of that oichel, declare that such a thing. There's no shaila in the world that is not muksa. It's not even shaila. It's not even shaila. It's tamua to declaring such a thing. Tamua, what? What's the difference, Rabbi Stender, between an orange peel and a cucumber peel? You understand? Moo. No way, man. Okay. What happened today? I don't know. So, what happened? No, we didn't do anything, but we didn't get to what we wanted to. But I say, so tomorrow, Lamed Aleph, Lamed Beis, go to the sugyas of raw meat. Raw meat's very exciting also. And go weiter, go to Graf Shel Rei. Go weiter, great. Yeah, sushi. Tomorrow, maybe we should have like a sushi party or something, huh? What? Mask. What? Yeah, Rabbi, I think that when you talk to, what's that?